The award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. We're glad you're tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're excited about today's show. It's all about the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, and we got a lot of cool stuff to share with you, but we also have a house full of people in-house and on Zoom. We're social distancing like we've been doing for a while.
That's right.
But anyway, Miss Pandy Upchurch, the TWRA Assistant Chief of Biological Diversity, is with us today.
Hey.
And then Sean Saville, Alliance for America's Fish and Wildlife Campaign Manager. He's with us via Zoom, and we appreciate him being here. So, and then Mr. Don King, as always, helping me co-host.
Yes, sir, Jason, and I appreciate Sean for the cool T-shirts we've got.
Exactly, yeah.
Today.
If you're watching, you'll have to tune in and check out the shirts. We're going to talk about these shirts: our nature, our nation, and our future. Those are for sale at, I'll get it right here, recoveringwildlife.com.
Yeah.
So you can buy these shirts and donate a little bit of money to help with the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, and we're going to learn about all that today. Sean's going to jump in here and tell us about who the Alliance is, what they do, and all that fun stuff, and we'll just kick it off there. So, Sean, thanks for being with us.
Well, Jason, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to get on the podcast today.
Yeah.
Nice to y'all virtually.
Yeah, we appreciate you too, and we're ready to learn about the Alliance. Tell us what the Alliance does. When was it created, and what's it there for?
Yeah, thanks. So the Alliance for America's Fish and Wildlife really came into existence back in 2017. It was built on the strong partnership that was put together by the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies and the many partners that worked on the Blue Ribbon Panel. Some folks might be familiar with that process. They came back together in 2016 to make some recommendations as to how to fund our fish and wildlife conservation for the future. And, brought together folks from the automotive industry, energy sector, manufacturing, sportsmen's and women's organizations, NGOs, state, federal fish and wildlife agencies, academia. Everybody you can imagine might have a stake in fish and wildlife conservation to really take this thing to the next level, figure out how to sustainably fund our fish and wildlife conservation for the 21st century. So, the Alliance really has turned into the national campaign to pass the Recovering America's Wildlife Act. That's our mission. That's what we're here to do. And, we're looking forward to working with everybody to get this thing across the finish line.
Awesome. Can you explain the Blue Ribbon Panel just a little bit so folks at home that may not know about that, they'll understand that part of it?
Sure, yeah. So, back in 2014, the association, that's AFWA for short, came together with all the state fish and wildlife agencies and federal partners, that team of folks that I had described earlier. Mm-hmm. Dave Morris from Bass Pro Shops, former governor of Wyoming, Dave Friedenthal, CEOs and partners of many of the conservation groups that you all work with on the ground and work on good conservation initiatives across the country, to come up with a set of recommendations as to how to really look at sustainable, dedicated funding for fish and wildlife conservation for those 12,000 species of greatest conservation need that states have identified in their state wildlife action plans that don't have a dedicated, sustainable funding stream for their conservation. So, there's license fees and excise taxes that good, sportsmen and women pay through their hunting and fishing licenses and the gear that they buy. That a portion of that goes back to conservation led by the states, and that's all good. Mm-hmm. There are tons, the vast, majority of the species under states' care are not funded through any direct stream of money. So how do you come up with a dedicated funding stream to work on the conservation of those species? And that's what the Blue Ribbon Panel's charge was. And they made that recommendation, and that has translated into the legislative language for the Recovering America's Wildlife Act.
Awesome. Yeah, we gotta protect those little creatures too, all those non-game critters that run around out there. As Jennifer likes to say sometimes, Jennifer Wisniewski, our assistant or our chief of outreach and communications, she always says you gotta protect those little critters too. So
that's right.
But anyway, all right. Well, so
Yeah, for years, hunters and anglers have bought licenses, and that's how we've done the majority of our business over the years. And like Sean said, a portion of those excise taxes that get paid when equipment's bought and fishing gear and that sort of thing comes back to us from the federal government. But sometimes those funds fall short. It just kind of depends, and it sure would be nice to have a dependable money stream that every state could count on to take care of all the little critters that we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to mention this, OurNatureUSA.com. That's a reference there, a website you can go to and learn more about the Alliance and your mission, right? So the Recovering America's Wildlife Act. Let's touch on that. And I thought maybe we could cut to Pandy here and just
Sure.
learn a little bit about what we're doing in Tennessee with our wildlife action plan,
Right.
and how this affects us, and then we can get back to Sean on some more details on this act.
Absolutely. So for our non-game species, the species that we don't hunt, and especially those that are becoming at risk or rare, are species of greatest conservation need. In 2005, way back, we had to write a state wildlife action plan.
Mm-hmm.
And in that state wildlife action plan, we listed the species that we consider species of greatest conservation need. And back then it was 664 species.
Mm-hmm.
But even with 664 species, it was determined we weren't getting near enough money to do what we had planned to be able to keep those species from becoming further threatened and possibly endangered.
And once they
so-
cross that line, it's a whole different can of worms, isn't it, Pandy?
Right. So, yes, if we can get the funding up front to be able, once they're becoming rare, because in Tennessee, you've got your GCN, your species of greatest conservation need, and that's before our deemed in need of management. Now, deemed in need of management can be a species of greatest conservation need, but we can start working on species just when we're seeing them decline. For example, now, no one wants to hear this, but the northern bobwhite is one of our GCN species. So now we can use some of this funding, some of the state wildlife grant money that we started getting in 2005 to work on the conservation of species, including bobwhite quail. So it was determined that we didn't get near enough money to do what we planned to do to be able to help these species. Only about 5% of what was needed.
Wow.
And so we again had to write a state wildlife action plan in 2015, and then when we did the plan in 2015. Our number of species of greatest conservation need jumped up to 1,499.
Oh, wow.
That's because we decided that we wanted to, the whole agency and the state wants to focus on habitat. So we included plants on our state wildlife action plan. We worked with our sister partner, in the state, TWRA, the Department of Environment and Conservation. So they had their plant species of greatest conservation need. So now we're almost up to 1,500 species that we're trying to manage by managing their habitat in various ways. And so we've got a lot of species. But I don't know if we can mention this yet, because it's kind of like the big thing at the end. But, if we could get our apportionment of the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, that would be $29 million a year.
Every year.
Every
Steady
year
stream.
for Tennessee. And the biological diversity folks in the regions, we've gotten together and we're getting a strategy of, the only thing that would be worse of not getting it would be getting it, not knowing what to do with it.
That's what I was going to say.
So,
You got to have a plan.
That's right. We got to have a plan.
Yeah.
So we got together, and oh my goodness, with that type of money, we could have big dreams. I mean, a lot of times we look at West Tennessee. I love West Tennessee, but they've got some major issues, especially with the streams, the rivers there. But with this kind of money, we could start working on stream restoration in West Tennessee, and that's one of our huge goals: is to go back and to create those meandering streams again, because with RAWA, the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, we can use different forms of match. Now all of our match has to be state match, but if we get RAWA, we can use some federal money, such as from the Corps of Engineers or TVA or military money, Department of Defense. So match will be easier as well. So we can take on some great projects, big projects with that kind of money.
And you mentioned 2005 is when the state wildlife action plans were
Originally created.
implemented. Yeah, and I mean, I remember the hours and days and weeks and months involved in all the personnel being out there taking inventory, basically,
Right,
of what our
right.
species are, what we have, and I know some new discoveries were made through those efforts. And,
absolutely.
So things like this don't happen overnight.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, yes. So we've got folks out there continuing to do research in the field. Our people doing research and surveys, but the amount of money that we currently fund universities with, I mean, most of this money is going to university research. It's staff, but also university research. And the universities they are doing surveys, but they're also dealing with the disease. You know, we've got white nose syndrome. That we're looking at. We've got folks at MTSU studying the microbiome of gray bat wings because, even though gray bats were one of our endangered bats, they don't seem to be as susceptible to white nose syndrome. So we're using some of this money to find out why. We're looking at chytrid fungus and ranavirus and the amphibians. And now in MTSU also is looking at snake fungal disease, something that's affecting our snakes and reptiles. So, and then we're looking at salamanders. As I always say, I can't leave this room without saying Tennessee is the salamander capital of the world. We're also looking at bee-sal. So UT, this is a nationwide effort, but UT is heading it up to where we can look at bee-sal before it even gets to this country. So it's in Europe now, but we want to try to stop it at the borders before we even have to deal with that. So we're already doing tons of stuff, but we can do so much more.
Yeah.
So Sean, how could someone, and I know you'll know this right off the top of your head, but how could someone help and sign on to this initiative?
Well, so thank you, Jason. Appreciate that, and thanks, Pandy, for all your work and the knowledge you bring to this. As she said, the existing money that comes through the State and Tribal Wildlife Grant Program, $900,000 annually, right? The allocation to Tennessee through the Recovering America's Wildlife Act, $29 million. Just think about all the work and all the critters out there that we could work on and help to protect and all their habitat with that money. Tennessee is one of the places that has, some of the greatest biodiversity in the nation. You have some of the most diverse habitats and ecosystem areas in the country, all the creeks and lakes and rivers and mountains and everything, So just imagine all those critters out there. Some people don't even probably know about, but it's important that they're out there and that they're providing valuable services to give us clean air and water and all the fiber and food and things that we enjoy every day. But folks that want to get engaged, there are a couple things that we would suggest that you do. One, you could get one of these great looking t-shirts at recoverwildlife.com.
Yeah.
And those portion of those proceeds go back to the Alliance to help with the work that we're doing to help pass this legislation. If you want to get more directly engaged in helping to pass the legislation, you can go to ournatureusa.com and write a letter to your representative encouraging them to pass this legislation for the future of our critters and habitat and all the outdoor recreation activities that folks like to do. This is a game changer for conservation, and we really hope people get engaged.
Awesome. Yeah. So one thing I want to mention too, and make sure we don't forget about is your social channels at Our Nation USA on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow them on there. We've been posting some of y'all's stuff and sharing that on our social media. So trying to get the word out that way. But yeah, tell them about the shirt. So if they wanted to get a shirt, and there's also a face mask that they could purchase too. Tell them about that and how they get it and all that fun stuff.
Sure. So we're partnering up with Tennessee this week. We hope to work with state agencies and partners across the country over the coming weeks here, and appreciate all the work that you and your team are doing down there in Tennessee. And we hope that we can generate some revenue to work on this legislation. It all comes back around. If we get money, you guys get the lion's share of the money through this legislation. So it all goes back on the ground to help conservation happen out there. So folks can go to recoverwildlife.com, get a t-shirt. They can follow us at Our Nature USA on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, get engaged that way. And, this is really just one of those opportunities with all that's going on in the world. There's this whole pandemic thing. People are turning to nature more and more to, seek refuge and do, all the outdoor recreation that they like to do. It's a great way to relieve stress, social distancing, that whole thing.
Yeah.
But, the more and more people that are out there could stress out our natural resources. It also, I think, is making people a little bit potentially more appreciative of what we do have and taking a sort of harder look at, well, what can I do to help protect these resources for our future generation, for our kids? You see my son here in the background. This is why we do this work, is to protect the resources for our kids and their kids, make sure that they have the same outdoor recreation opportunities that we've had and we enjoy in our lifetime, so they can have that going in. And, it's just something that people feel strongly about. They can do positive action from home. They don't have to get outside if they don't want to. They don't have to go into a crowded room anywhere. They don't have to go into an office. They can do it from the comfort of their own home. Go to recoverwildlife.com, go to Our Nature USA, get engaged, help us out, and, leave us something for our future generations.
Let folks know where you stand. Wear the shirt around.
Yeah.
Hey, get the message out there.
Yeah, you mentioned the pandemic and folks being outside and kind of changing the way we think about things. We've seen an uptick in license sales. People are outdoors, getting outside, enjoying what's around them. You got to think about responsible recreation. Now, that's a campaign that's going around. You can see that online. Right. Keeping your waters and streams clean. And so get you a shirt and take your kids out and show off what you love, and share the mission. So I think we, do our part, and the agency will be there to help and back it up.
Yeah, that's right. And I think there's a variety of things available there too. I see a V-neck that I haven't seen the original version of yet here, but there's a V-neck available.
And the neck gaiter, or what they call the buff or face mask.
Yeah, that'd come in handy for sure.
They said, TN free shipping. If you use that code, you can get free shipping on the products, and so
that's right.
That's cool too.
Yeah, a little incentive for folks in Tennessee to get out and appreciate what they love, and do like you said, engage, practice responsible recreation. Be respectful of folks. Be respectful of the critters that are out there. And hey, take a picture of yourself wearing the face mask or wearing the T-shirt. Put it up on social media. Let us know where you're at. What you're doing out there, what you enjoy doing, wildlife watching or hunting or angling or whatever it is you're out there doing. Let us know how we can help and how we can engage you more in helping protect all those activities.
So you can tag them at Our Nature USA, or what kind of hashtag would you use?
You can use hashtag Recover Wildlife too, and that goes to the national campaign. That's the hashtag that all the partners of the Alliance are using in the posts that they put up about this campaign.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Pandy, I know you brought a document with you that we've been working real hard on. Tell us about that.
Well, this is part of our vision document that, how we would use this money if we got it. And, we talked about our rivers and streams, and, one of our most diverse rivers is the Duck River, and it's one of the most diverse rivers in the entire continent, much less, this country. So we have the Cumberland River Aquatic Center, and even though it's the Cumberland River, it also focuses on tributaries to the Tennessee River, rivers in general, and mussels in general. So some of our most endangered species are our mussel species, and so we're propagating endangered species at our Cumberland River Aquatic Center. One thing that we have issues with, though, is the water quality there. So, with money like this, we could create a water treatment plant for our Cumberland River Aquatic Center, and we could have a biosecure facility to where we don't have to deal with, increased ammonia and things of that sort. So that would be incredible to do that. But, we've got one species, the pale lilliput, that was thought to be extinct.
Say that again.
We're talking about those little critters, like the Lilliputians. The pale lilliput is, and that's just its common name. Don't ask me to say its scientific name. But the pale lilliput was thought to be extinct in Tennessee, and I mean we've got some amazing people working at the Cumberland River Aquatic Center, like Wadon and David Sims and Jason Wisniewski. You mentioned Jennifer earlier, but they can take a gravid female, which means a female that's pregnant, and they can raise those baby mussels. And they found just a few of those pale lilliputs in a tributary to the Duck River, and they took them out to the aquatic center and they raised them, and now they're putting them back and
release them back to the wild.
And they're not only going to not be extinct, but we might actually bring them back.
Right.
So stuff like that, at the aquatic center's amazing. We've got alligator snapping turtles there. We've got American eel there, which is one of my favorites. Can you imagine putting a pit tag in American eel and following it all the way back to the Sargasso Sea and finding where they breed, something no one has ever seen before, ever, or even being able to breed American eel. No one's ever bred American eel before. So, because mostly what we see in the streams here are all females. So, we're learning a ton about the species that we're propagating, and we don't know which mussel species that American eel may be the host fish for. And what I'm talking about is for every mussel, there's a host fish, and in order for them to propagate and to distribute their young, they have to have a fish come in and they release their glycidia, which are their babies, onto the gills of fish. And so they infest the fish swim away, and that's how mussels move, because if you look at a mussel, they don't have any other way to get around. So we're focusing on both the mussels and their fish host, and you can't conserve something that you don't know, so there's lots of research to be done in that respect. So we're doing a lot of stuff out at the Aquatic Center. We're learning tons of things about bats. Our folks, we put transmitters on endangered bat species, like the Indiana bat, and we got Barbara, the incredible pilot, up there, and I can't imagine asking any other pilot in the whole world to, okay, now follow that bat. But that's what we asked Barbara to do, and we got people that have receivers, and we got the bats with transmitters on them, and following Indiana bats from East Tennessee, and everybody had their vehicles pointing. She was up in the air, and everybody had their vehicles pointed north to be able to follow the Indiana bats to their maternity roost, and they went south to Alabama. So
Indiana bats, Alabama, makes sense to me.
But you know what? But several of them have gone to Wilson County, right here in Tennessee.
They're doing a lot of work out there.
They're doing a lot of work in Wilson County, and so not only are they learning where they go, but they're also creating habitat with artificial roost structures. This artificial bark, bark that they can use for the Indiana bats to roost in. So we're learning, but we're also creating habitat. We're burning more. One of the things that we want to do with RAWA money is to create burn tombs across the state so that we can manage unique habitats like savannas and things of that sort, even cedar glades. And buying caves. That's one of the things. Most people have no idea that TWRA owns 15 caves, but we do, and we want more if they contain endangered species. So purchasing of caves and land in general, habitat in general. We could buy wetlands, we could buy caves, we could acquire lots of money. Acquire lots of habitat. So that would be incredible.
Bill Smith just sent me an email the other day of some savannas and things that they're working on at Cocker Bottoms and some of those properties. It's amazing the work that they're doing out there and trying to bring quail back and improving their properties and some beautiful savannas.
And if you want to hear a quail, that's where you go. When's the last time I haven't heard a quail in a while, and I
miss them.
I miss them too. I miss them. So just teaching people about what we do. We can use some of RAWA money for educational purposes. Whereas with state wildlife grants, we could put up a sign on what we're doing, but we couldn't necessarily use the money for education.
Right.
So that's cool. I'm really proud of Tennessee's role in this, because we've been actively putting together our vision documents and helping the Alliance and working with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation here in the state. But we've got 4 co-sponsors co-sponsors in Tennessee on this bill. So one of the things that you can do is write and thank them for being interested in species of greatest conservation need, at-risk species, and it's 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, and how wonderful wonderful is that right now, bipartisan. But Steve Cohen has always sponsored this. He's from Memphis, and Jim Cooper, and then Charles Fleischman. I talked to Charles Fleischman, Chuck. I know him by Chuck.
There you go.
No, I talked to him. We don't lobby, but we can talk and we can do this. We can share with them what we would do with the money if we got it.
Sure.
And I talked to him several years back about peregrine falcons. He's a real falconry fan. And I said, well, we're about to take peregrine falcons off of the risk list because they're doing better and more people can use them for falconry, and that really captured his attention, and he's come on board with us, as well as David Kirchhoff. So we've got a bipartisan group of folks that's co-sponsoring, and if it makes it to the Senate, which when it makes, slap me.
When, Pandy.
When.
Yes.
When it makes it to the Senate, Lamar Alexander, we're hoping will be a co-sponsor in the Senate. So Tennessee has really stepped up for this, and I'm proud of us for doing so. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're going to run out of time, but do you want to mention just real quick some of your guys out in the field? You mentioned your folks that work across the state. We got a lot of folks doing this work in our different regions.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll go with the manager 3s that are in the field that are our biodiversity coordinators in each region. In Region 4 in East Tennessee, it's Scott Dykes, and he loves birds, and he does a lot of that habitat work with savannas. And then we've got Chris Simpson in Region 3, the Cumberland Plateau. Right. He's a good bat person. I've done bat programs with him. Here in Region 2, Middle Tennessee, is Josh Campbell. I mean, he's known nationwide for working with that. And Rob Colvin in West Tennessee, he's doing all that West Tennessee stuff like alligator snapping turtles and alligator gars and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. So we're all doing our thing in our regions.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the shout out. Sean, I want to give you the last word. Tell everybody where they can find the information real quick.
All right, www.recoverwildlife.com for the shirts and the face masks. Go to ournatureusa.com for more information about the legislation, about the campaign, and get engaged. This is it's not just about the critters, it's about economics, it's about big business, it's about jobs, it's about putting people back to work doing good stuff, high paid jobs. 30,000 jobs a year this bill could put back on the ground. So get behind us, and we look forward to working with everybody, and thanks for all the great work that TWRA is doing on this.
Awesome. Well, I thank you. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for being a part of this. Don, thank you for joining us.
You bet.
Pandy, thank you again.
Absolutely.
And thank y'all for watching. Thanks for listening. Keep coming back. Keep tuning in, and we'll keep bringing you the great outdoor news of Tennessee. And we'll talk to you or see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.